we're gonna make this cool abstract art with using Blender 3.0 geometry nodes. So yeah, it's pretty easy to create. So what I'm gonna do, let's just get into the video. So what I'm gonna do now is let me just scale this cube. We're not gonna delete it. I'm gonna go to the geometry nodes. You just swap that, join that area, because we don't want that. And Shift A, there we go. And just add an icosphere right there. Scale that down. Okay, so now Shift A, let me add point, distribute points on faces. Disconnected there. And instance on points. Disconnected. And let's take the icosphere, put it in there. And disconnect it to the instance, and you can see something like this. I'm just gonna move it there, and let me add a random value. Yep. Just connect the value into the scale, and make the minimum into 0.1, maximum into 0.2. There we go. And now I just position my camera. But we're gonna just change this one. But for now, it's just good. Okay, that's looking pretty cool. So, okay. So now let's go to the next thing, which is, yeah, if you want, you can just play with the seed until you get, like, a pretty good one. And, now what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna just add some animation to this. Okay, so, just, there you go. And let me just make this one to, just make this one to the timeline. And now let's just add some animation. So let me get to the random value stuff, and we're gonna play with it. So in the keyframe number 1, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change this one to 0, and I'm just gonna insert a keyframe, and at the keyframe number 20, I'm gonna make this one to 0.1, and let's just insert a keyframe, and now let me take my icosphere. Okay, wait. Okay, let me take this one, and now I'm going to go to the first one, and let me change this one to point to itself, and let me just add a keyframe. And now let me just go to the 20th frame, and let me just make this one to 0. Let me just add a keyframe. There we go. And if you look at what they, we'll just get this cool animation stuff. Duplicate it. Just give a gap in the 80th frame, and just do this process again and again. Now, if you look, it'll be something like this, which is not bad. Yes, that's kind of cool. And now, if I look, it'll be something like this, and that's pretty cool. But the thing is that we want better than this. So let me just make it end until the 80th frame. That's only what we want. And now we have to make it better, like more shaders and more stuff, make it more attractive. So what I'm going to do is that I'm just go to the material properties, and let's just add some textures and stuff to this thing. So let me get to the shading tab, and yeah, let me just add. And okay, so I think we don't want this, so just okay, that's pretty better. Okay, that's better. Okay, so now let me add Shift Info node, and then let me add a color ramp, and let's just connect the random to the background, the color to the base color. Now you can just kind of control it. The thing is that we should select the UV sphere than the cube, so we should not select this thing. We should select this UV sphere. So let me just select that UV sphere. Here's the shading tab. Take the material we were using. Okay, now let's just add some colors. So let me just make a bright blue color, and let me just take this one and add a pink color, and add another one, and make a purple color, and that's it. So okay, so you could also use a light gray color for so let me just take this one and make this one to something like a dark and a gray color, and there we go. So we're having all these and stuffs ready, and if I go to the layout, I can see the thing, and that's looking pretty cool. So yes, well, so the first thing what I'm gonna fix is the lighting. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm just gonna add like a 4 of them, and you think it might be bright, but it's not that much bright. Like, we want better than this. What I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna just change this one to a 7,000 and change into something like pink color, so the light just be lower. So let me just name this one as like the main light. So you can just take the main light. You could just yep, there you go, the main light. Just take it, and now let's just put this main light to 4. Okay, so now that is looking pretty better, but we want better than this. So what I'm going to do is that we just use a low poly mesh for low poly icosphere for all of this, but at the end of this video I'm going to change it to the UV sphere, and until it, let's just with this one itself. So the next thing what I'm going to do is that I'm going to just play with this one's metallicity and stuff and make this one better. So let's just decrease the roughness, and that's all we had to do to get some cool results that we can't see now. So just on the bloom, and you'll see that it just gives a cool effect, and also the screen space reflections and the motion blur, and that's it. So the next thing what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna, as I told you, I'm gonna change this one to a UV sphere. So let's just take the thing, just delete it, because we don't want that. And now we just use this icosphere as a reference. So now after taking your UV sphere, let's just grab him to away from the camera. Okay, so let me just select the UV sphere and just move it and add a subdivision surface modifier with the levels of 2 and shades mode. And now if I take the cube and go to the geometry nodes, you can just change the icosphere from, you can just change in the object info, you can just change the icosphere to the UV sphere. So just press the X and let's just take the UV sphere, and if you take that, you can see something like this. But there's a problem that these things are having no shaders. So let's just add the same shader for them. Now let's just give this one the same shading. So let's just take that one, and there we go. So now if you look at the layout, if you go to the main render, you can see that it's working. So now it's just the final things. So we're just adding some movements to our camera. So what I did was I just added a curve. So I'll show you. I just added a curve, like a path, and just moved it, and step back to edit mode, scale it to the x-axis, and just take 2 of these, no, not 2, just 1 of them, and just extrude it to the y-axis. So just give it a bend effect, and to the next side overflow. So just press E and X, and there we go. So now if I tap out and just scale this thing down, I'm just gonna move it inside this cube, or instead of scaling this curve, you could just scale this up and just move it inside the curve so that the camera gets a cool effect from it. And now let me just kind of hide this thing, because yeah, there we go. So let me just take the camera and just so that it'll get some cool animations. And now let's just take the camera and then shift select the curve. That's what you had to do. And then Control P, follow path, and there we go. Yes, it's done. So now if you saw, you'll be having this camera animation, and also the last thing. Let's just if you now look at just unhide it, and there we go. So what I'm gonna do next is that I'm just gonna add an environment texture for a bit more better lighting. So let's just add an environment texture, and now after adding the environment texture for the lighting, let me just go to the render properties, and let me just change in the film, let me just break it into transparent so that you don't want to see this. Okay, that's looking pretty good. And let's go to the last thing. Let me just select the camera. And in the camera settings, you can see some of them. Like, you can see some of the things here. So I'll just show you in a second. Select the camera. Selecting the camera, what we had to do is that go to the camera settings and enable depth of field, and just take the one as your cube. I think it's better to have a blurriness for this thing, because that just gives a cool effect. Now let me get it in 2.4, and there we go. Yeah, I think it's a bit more blurry, so we don't want that much blur, so 0.6 would do the job. Okay, that's looking pretty good. So, if you liked the video, you can hit the like button. If you didn't like the video, just dislike. It doesn't really matter, the dislike button. So, make sure to subscribe, and that's it.